Cat. Let me go ahead and do that. Remove. Save the changes. Hello. Good morning to you and me. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is the morning dew for certified doers just like you. I'm Delia Jackie Hope Glass, Mama, Navy vet certified doer in the laced up legislative for the House Delia 93rd District, getting myself ready to be up in here with with you all. What an honor it always is to serve. So let's get into it. First of all, I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there that you know, and you may not know. So if you don't know, I'm gonna tell you now. We have August 8th coming up is Summer School for Certified Doers. Summer School for Certified Doers. Summer School for Certified Doers, which means this is gonna be that thing that I do and I've been doing every summer to teach you all the stuff, all the goodies that I thought that I wish I would have knew when I got elected, but I didn't know. So now I'm teaching you. Okay, so it'll be Saturday, August 8th from 9 to 3. Here's the kick, right? You're like, that's a long time. Yes, it's a long time. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Uh, at 1:30, we're going to have what we call the policy pitch contest, which means it's like Shark Tank for policy. So you'll have the opportunity to pitch your idea, pitch your policy. We've invited other legislators to come and be on the panel to be the sharks. So it's a really cool idea, opportunity for you. So if you've got a policy idea, please don't hesitate. Good morning. Hesitate to join us. And if you just know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, they just want to learn a little bit more about the process. That's what this is for. It always has been, it always will be. And that's just how we do. How we do. Good morning, Brian. Long time no see. What a captain. Long time no see. Good morning, Miss Deirdre. Good morning, Mean Spirits. Good morning. I hope I say this right. Kafia and Scream. I don't think I'm gonna say that right. Scream into Laurent or tolerance. Scream something. Don't give me the line. What I need y'all to do is in the comments, if you got an event going on or you got something to do that you want me to share with the group, let me know. If you've got something coming up, an event or anything, drop it in the chat so that I can push it out. I'll push it out at the front end and on the back end because that's the thing. Sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. Also, how you feeling this morning? I feeling this one. Oh, gratitude, Miss Deirdre. Thank you for popping in on the Born to Do up and edit. She does yoga, y'all. So like I've been trying to figure out the things to keep me centered, keep me grounded, keep me in the game. Because there's a lot going on. And we got a bit of things to go through today. Last night, in case you missed it, we had an event where we talked to Chris Armitage and Delegate Nicole Cole about, and she's a delegate up in the 66th district, freshman year, doing it, rocking it out. But we talked about that book. Remember the book that we're reading? It's 25 pages called Grab 'em by the Ear, how to make politicians do what you want. You remember that? Yeah, so we had a talk back last night about that. It was phenomenal. Chris gave some really amazing ideas. Not being funny, like there's a level of boldness that's required for this moment. Guys, I'm going to try to talk in my normal voice because I'm doing that thing. There's a level of boldness that's required for this moment. And one of the things I'm going to talk about today is the election side of it. There's so many things. And I have been doing it again. I've been in and out of town recently, just trying to get my head wrapped around some of these things. So today I really, really, really have a really hopefully solid ask for community of what we can possibly do, some urgent and important things. But if you've got things, remember that this is your time. Drop it in the chat. We'll have some hot takes from last night with Chris Armitage. You got some big,
bold ideas about what we can do next. Okay, KK? Use that chat like you mean it, right? Um, um, so again, good morning, morning, certified doers. Today I want to talk about elections. Yeah. And I need us to uh, do what I think grown people do when they hear the smoke alarm going off, right? I don't know about you, but when I hear that smoke alarm going off, it's not time to panic or to pretend you don't hear the smoke alarm. It's trying to get your tail out the house. What I want to do, our terminal objective for today is by the time we finish, I want you to understand who is involved with what's happening with elections, what happened, why is this different from any other time, and what Virginia already has in place, and where we still might be exposed, and then what you can do about it. I think what you're going to learn today is that much of what happens is rooted, much of the flashpoints, right? If we'll keep that fire alarm analogy, that flashpoint happens at the local level. And that's with many issues. I bet I could ask all of you right now, what's a local issue that feels like a flashpoint for you that could just if burn all the way up to the federal level, right? Like there's there what is the flashpoint? Most times that's at the local level. In this case, for us, I've said this before, like democracy, it's not like a self-cleansing thing. And it doesn't just like operate on the vibes that we have. It genuinely does run on people's laws, paper process, and some levels of accountability. So the other day, the Wayne Mullen, or I can't think of his last full name. It's like a double first name. Who is head of DHS, which stands for the United States Department of Homeland Security. DHS sits inside of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which is CISA. CISA's job includes helping protect physical and data systems the country that our country relies on. So like after there's a foreign attack, DHS is the ones who if there's a foreign cybersecurity, the election infrastructure, my brain, because I'm so like worked up about this. Let me take a step back. Good morning, Lamont. Good morning. Good, I couldn't get it out. Mark Wayne Mullen, right? So like, anyway, DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, has this legitimate role in helping states guard against hacking, cyber attacks, physical threats, and other things that might disrupt. But this is an important message, right? This is our message or like civics lesson. And I'm talking about DHS because last week, antennas was up. My whole team, everybody was like, antennas are up because the president is saying he's going to make this statement about elections and election frauds and things like this. We are holding in hands, and thanks you, Kifa. We are holding in hands our own fragility as a country right now. So he puts a message out on Wednesday, and I think by Friday, Mark Wayne Mullen, shout out to Sidwell and Brian, the head, the secretary, the head of DHS says something that everybody's antennas should have gone up. So I said they help with cyber attacks, right? Helping administer election security is not the same thing as controlling elections, right? Like, it's not the same thing. Our Constitution gives states, and this is why, I feel like a middle child at the state level. Y'all hear me say this, the middle child. The Constitution gives states the primary responsibility. So me, all the delegates, all the senators for establishing the mechanics of congressional elections. Well, Congress may pass federal election laws that override some of the state's rules. The Constitution does not give the president a freestanding power to personally rewrite state election procedures. Period. You can go to congress.gov and check that out, right? Check that thing out. The federal government does have a role, but the president, Congress, DHS, the Department of Justice, state legislators, and the local election officials do not have all the same roles. That distinction matters, right? That matters. Wholeheartedly. I love this. Hold on, let's go to the comments real quick. Litter. Norfolk doesn't want to enforce ordinance. It's these type of local foundational quality of life issues that I believe is causing Dems problems at the state. I do not disagree with that. And I just came from a whole trip on recycling, bottling, and litter that I am debriefing. I just got back last Tuesday to sort of pull together so that we can make some moves to pitch some things to our local government. It is still at my fingertips, David, to get them to do something. But like I said, most flashpoints start at the local level. And I think that's what David is referencing, is that those flashpoints that can ignite all the way up to the federal level, the pothole, the litter, starts at the local level. So, back to these elections, right? This distinction that I'm talking about, okay, I'm going to say that again. Congress, the president, the Department of Homeland Security, DOJ, Department of Justice, state legislators, local election officials, we don't all play the same role in elections. And I need us to be very clear on that. So here's what happens. On July 16th, let's pull it all together. Get it. And I love keeping it, Jackie, you got this. Get it together. July 16th, President Trump announced that he had ordered DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, to notify states about people, the administration, sort of identifies as non-citizens. Okay. So he's like, yo, Department of Homeland, here are the people we're identifying as non-citizens, particularly on our voter rolls, and to direct states to remove all of them. So he's like, yo, it's all these people, you need to remove them, as if we don't already have a process, or as if they're actually non-citizen folks on the rolls, right? Creating a problem that he wants to solve, right? The following day, the Homeland Security Secretary, Mark Wayne Willis, said that the federal election funding could be withheld from states that refuse to cooperate. So money, money, money. Again, another gap at the federal level that we need to be thinking about. We might have to fill in because the federal level is not going to administer or provide us some of the funding to do federal elections. Not to tell us how to do it, but to the funding to do it. So if we don't cooperate, they're going to withhold that money to the Commonwealth of Virginia or whatever state that you're in. He further warned that election officials could face fines, penalties, and possibly prison. Okay? Fines, penalties, and possibly prison. I want to be so clear, like transparent. Only United States citizens can vote in federal elections. We've already had these things debunked. Knowingly voting illegally is already a crime. It's already a crime, guys. And Virginia is already required to maintain voter rolls. There's no disagreement between us and the federal government on this, right? It's not a real thing. The questions I need you doers to be asking is, You know, who gets to decide what voter is ineligible? What evidence has to be presented? What due process does a voter receive? Right? Like all of these things. What legal authority permits the federal department to order state officials to remove people? Process this, right? And what law should send an election official to prison for refusing an informal or legally questionable demand? Where are those? And those questions have not been answered adequately. The administration is saying that Department of Homeland Security, that what the administration is saying says is that a DHS review identified approximately like 278,000 non-citizens registered to vote in 4 states. I wonder what states that's are and how they picked them. But the materials release didn't even explain the complete methodology because they're like, we're gonna show these documents. We're gonna give them all to y'all, right? The material that they released didn't show the methodology, and Secretary Mullen could not say how many, if any, had actually voted, right? So I'm loving this, right? Like, as I said, the federal government can help secure the elections. The states run the election. Very clear. Remember I said we all play a role. This is why I need us to be very clear. Good morning, David. And also said, but proof, where the proof? Because we would be asked that, right? So a database match is not the same thing as a proven case. Like you can't say, I saw a match, but okay, so show me that they voted. A match is a lead, right? It's not the verdict on the actual situation. Why this moment is different, doers, okay? So hold this. This is not different because the Department of Homeland Security suddenly discovered elections, right? DHS has been involved in election security for years. The difference is the posture. The traditional posture was, how can we help states defend their systems, as was said, right? As SS Sidwell 5664 just said, secure the elections, not administer, run them. So they traditionally, how can we help you, the Commonwealth of Virginia, defend your systems? The posture that we're hearing and we're seeing right now sounds more like, give us your voter data, follow our direction, or you ain't getting your money, or possibly you might lose your freedom. Federal assistance is not federal ownership. They don't own our elections. Cybersecurity cooperation does not give permission, nor is it permission to nationalize voter rolls. When I say by nationalize voter rolls, it say that the federal government is going to be in charge of every state's voter rolls. Okay, you know, a libertarian, and know that I'm saying this, I'm citing this because these are my sources, right? There's a libertarian, which is leans more right, but more, when I say libertarian, they're like, keep government out of everything. No surveillance, no nothing, right? Like freedom is freedom, government stay out. So there's a libertarian legal analyst at this Cato Institute that raised the same federalism concerns, right? Federalism is where we intersect with the federal government. And they also question what law authorizes the Department of Homeland Security to direct state voter roll changes or threaten, let me say that again, threaten officials who decline, right? What law is that? It's not this simple, Democrat versus Republican concern. That's not what this is. It is a question of lawful authority and constitutional boundaries that are being overstepped. And so the recent federal court decision matters, right? there was a recent federal court decision. Courts have blocked administration's expanded use of um, uh, of this use of what is it called, of the system alien verification entitlements program known as SAVE. Right. Okay. So SAVE, they know, for mass voter screening, and have blocked, the courts have blocked a substantial parts of the presidential executive orders attempting to change election procedures, right? The courts have already said some things. And listen, um, those folks are deciding when and when they do not listen to the courts. So one judge, y'all, put this in your pocket. And I went to investigating.com, try to cite my sources, and I went to congress.gov to sort of look at the oversight and the processes that I'm talking about here. So one of the judges found that the agency had combined sensitive data, including information they knew could be unreliable, in ways to threaten eligible voters. So what I'm saying is not, in theory. These things are not in theory. The administration is trying to apply pressure, even while major portions of its proposed system are being challenged or blocked in court. So why does this matter to regular people like us? And also, it matters to me as a elected official, as a state legislator, because I need to understand what the state's powers are and where we should be stepping in, which I haven't asked for that. But because voter databases are made by humans, right? They're made by humans, uh, governments, and computers, and all three of them can be wrong, right? They're all fallible. A person may have become a naturalized citizen after an immigration record was completed, right? Two people could have similar names. An address could be outdated. A birth date can be incomplete, right? A database can show that somebody's status was what it was is not what it is today. So when the government treats an imperfect database as a questionable truth, eligible voters can be forced to prove themselves innocent just to exercise their right to vote. Right? Well, wild, right? Wild. And so, and when election officials are threatened for following the state's law rather than some political demand that's being made by this president and his administration, it can create fear, confusion, and even resignations and instability inside the very systems we need to function. We're already having a difficult time getting folks to be election officials. So the thing about this administration saying safe and secure elections or fair elections is that I think common knowledge would be for us is to know that we don't protect elections by terrorizing the people who run them. That does not compute. An an educated idiot might think that we protect elections by terrorizing the people who run them, but that's not the case. And so um, that's why this is so important. That's why I need you to know that when we see this, we're seeing this happen, that they're treating this imperfect database as a questionable truth, right? I'm saying this again. Eligible voters can be forced to prove themselves. That's why this matters. What happened last week matters to you all. Okay. I'm going to go to the comments real quick. Christy Dudley says these data centers, though, I'm in Petersburg. They did it through rezoning. Now they've gone from one data center to four with the right verbiage. So we talked about this in the beginning, where all of the flashpoints happen at the local level, right? like that many of the flashpoints that we talked about, if this is a 5 alarm fire, what we're going through, the flash, the spark that we're going to see first is going to be at the local level, whether it's elections or it's data centers. As Sidwell said, part of what keeps elections secure is 90,000 local election spots. Um, it's messy, but hard to cheat or rig, specifically because it's decentralized. Centralizing election at the federal level, it is easier to cheat. Precisely, precisely. Good morning, Mr. Little. Um, the Save MAGA Act, not the Save America Us Act. Concur, concur, right? Concur. And so um, August 5th is important. I want to put this in your mind. August 5th is important because we've gone through this before. It is when we start our 90 days before the November 3rd federal election. So under the national, saying this to you all again, under the National Voter Registration Act, okay? The National Voter Registration Act. States generally have to complete all of their systematic voter removal programs at least 90 days before a federal election. It's what we call the quiet period. And there are limited exemptions and like ordinary corrections that can be made, or individualized sort of eligibilities still may occur. Telling you that, saying this again, National Voter Registration Act, got that, cite that source. That source is from congress.gov. So I'm going to be a little precise here. August 5th is not a blanket deadline that prohibits Virginia from passing every election related law or strengthening every election procedure. It does not stop us from stepping in and being like, who to what the hell? We not playing that, right? From passing laws, going to a special session to fill our holes. It doesn't do that. It just means that voter rolls time, that's a quiet period. And we went through this again before. Again, where this is an emergency. The point is not that all action become illegal on August 5th. I just need y'all to be aware of that date. The point is, the closer that we get to election day, the fewer responsible options that we have. The best time to build a fire escape is before we start smelling smoke, right? Back to the smoke alarm analogy that we started with, right? 5 alarm fire, the smoke alarm's going off, right? Get your tail. So we have to build that fire escape before we smell smoke. And I can tell you right now, based off what we saw last week, I smell smoke. I should say it in the words mystical. I smell smoke if you in that generation. Here's something I want us to like understand that we can celebrate is that Virginia already has meaningful protections. And I don't know what state each and every last one of you are in, but Virginia itself already has some meaningful protections. Virginia law restricts how the Commonwealth may use SAVE, right? The Department of Elections can use certain things and narrow, individualized verification connected to specific records. It can use information as a sole basis for it cannot use that information as a sole basis to deny someone or reject a registration. It may not upload statewide voter lists for bulk citizen checks. It may not give the Department of Homeland Security more personal information than that is minimally necessary. That is in Virginia law. That comes from the Virginia Code section 24 decimal 24 decimal 4. When I say decimal, 24 decimal 2 TAC 404, right? That's in the Virginia Code. Before a registration is canceled based on citizenship report, Virginia generally requires a notice and gives 14 days to submit a sworn statement confirming citizenship. That is in Virginia Code 24.2 dash 427, right? We already have that. Virginia also has, and I need y'all to put this in your back pocket. Virginia already has prohibited the use of direct recording electronic voting machines since 2020, preserving that paper-based voting record. It's in the code. We've establishing risk limiting audits that use hand counted samples of paper ballots to test whether what was reported, the reported outcomes actually are correct. We've made intentional intimidation or obstruction of election officials and protected sensitive election security information. It's in our code. That is something to celebrate, right? Shout out to the work, and I have to say this woman's name because, like democracy defenders, shout out to the work of our chairwoman of elections, privilege and elections, Marcia Price, out of Newport News, who has worked so hard to secure these elections so that we can have a Voting Rights Act here in Virginia. A whole lot of people have done a whole lot of good work to make Virginia's elections secure, accessible, and accountable. But celebrating what we built cannot become an excuse for refusing to inspect the roof before the storm, for refusing to check that battery when conditions change, right? So here's what we might still need. My team has been working on an elections materials and accountability and preservation act, something. What the proposal is and what we're thinking in this time is that we would need to establish some uniform rules for non-routine transfer, access, preservation, and return of ballots, poll books, voting equipment, software, um, media storage, the audit logs. I mean, I can go on and other protected election information. It would require lawful authority, lawful authority, identity verification, inventories, uh, access records, and continuous chain of custody. That is what we're at. We're at a point where we're trying to create the proposal that would also require rapid notification when protected materials have leave the ordinary custody, because we've seen where sheriff's departments have stepped in and just been like, give me them records because they're listening to the administration, right? So when protected materials leave ordinary chain of custody, we have to create state-right procedures to establish penalties for people that are knowingly unauthorized or have unauthorized acquisition or access. At the same time, it would expressly, it excuse me, it expressly would not obstruct a valid warrant, subpoena, court order, investigation, or recount or audit. It doesn't get in the way of those things. And so I said, I'm not always honest, but I'm always transparent because honesty isn't needed. We need transparency. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm trying to let you know what's happening. This is a working draft that I think we all need to be working on as legislators. So it is not something that the Department of Legislative Services have created as a bill. It needs legislative council, constitutional review, and presser testing. But the basic principle is extremely what is the word I'm looking for? It's extremely simple. Nobody, do you hear me? Nobody, right? No state, federal, private, public, nobody should be able to walk away with Virginia's ballots, election equipment, sensitive data information merely because they were asked very loudly by a president or intimidated. They shouldn't show. We should show the lawful authority, document the custody, and preserve the evidence. We have protections, right? There are other things that I think we need to consider. I'm going to slow down for a second because I feel like I'm like getting ahead of myself. Get out ahead of myself here. So Christy Dudley says, thank you so much for the insight. Thank you. Virginia has good laws around elections to start with. We absolutely do. We are so thankful. As that Silwell says, there's 60 days between November 3rd, 60 days between November 3rd elections and when the next elected officials are sworn in. They already took ballots from 2020 in Georgia. Yeah, we got to protect the ballots, as she says. Protect the ballots, right? 1,000%. Okay. So there's some other protections that I think we need to consider. One is a federal demand response protocol. So any request for voter data, election equipment, or protective materials should be written, reviewed immediately by counsel, and tied to an identifiable legal authority. We've got to have stronger data protection. There's no mass removal based solely on a database match. Require these independent verification, individualized notice, a meaningful opportunity to cure and document every final decision, a level of continuity in planning, where backup poll books, secure of offline records, alternate facilities, emergency elections communications and procedures for disruptions to equipment or buildings or personnel. A state election security reserve. If a legitimate, and I'm not talking about Virginia's got some great stuff, I'm talking about across the country. If legitimate federal grants are withheld because Virginia refuses an unlawful demand, the Commonwealth should be capable of keeping election operations running while the dispute is litigated. So, yes, some election reserves. So here's where we are, y'all. This is real. This is why I need you. This is why you are important. We have to ask the questions of us. You all need to ask the questions for us. Don't just say, hey, we need election protections. We're past that point. Give us something that we have to answer. This is why I said, grab them by the ear. What we talked about yesterday with the author and another delegate, grab them by the ear is so important. Knowing how to educate yourself, how to activate, how to recruit people in, and how to keep doing that. You have to give us something that we have to answer. And so your ask could be to your state electeds is, how will you support a special session to strengthen election data, election material, election worker protections before November, right? How are you going to do that? Or do you think we have everything in place? Because I could be wrong. Could be. Right? Ask them, will you require a written, lawful authority before protected Virginia election materials or non-public voter information are transferred? Will you oppose mass removals solely based on an unverified federal database match? Will you support legal and operational resources for election officials facing conflicting or potentially unlawful demands? The Secretary of Homeland Security said they want to put election officials in prison. Right? This is not proverbial. And so ask them to do it in writing. I expect my constituents, the folks that I am supposed to be serving, to email me and ask me these questions. So the do here, guys, is some of you, I want you to become election workers. Be ready. This is the time. Certified doers, I need some of you to become officers of elections and be on it right now. That is what Virginia calls poll workers. The Office of Elections checks in voters, issues ballots, operates polling place equipment, preserve records, and helps secure materials after the polls close. Virginia provides training and applications, begin through the Department of Elections or your local registrar, right? Just go to the Virginia Department of Elections. I need somebody that can say it with your chest. Take that day, put that PTO in for November 3rd and be an election official that's not going to stand for the bullshit. Like, you cannot spend every election season asking who's protecting democracy, doers, right? While refusing to take a shift. Take a shift. Sometimes the answer is you. And not everybody can run for office. Not everybody wants to run for office. Not everybody wants to knock doors, right? But somebody has to open that precinct, check that poll book, protect that ballot, witness that count. Democracy right now needs those shift workers. They need elections administrators and elections officials. So I ask you guys, before today, did you believe that DHS's role was in elections? Right? And what protections would help you trust these voter lists or maintain these lists? Right? I want to hear from you guys. Is election security still security when it is enforced through political threats? If I was betting on Shakespeare, I would say, nay as I dare, I bite my thumb at them. Right? No. The thing about it is that election security should be a shield for the people, not some sort of leash that you put around the states, right? That is not the thing. Know that 100% Virginia itself is not starting at zero, but zero panic doesn't mean zero preparation, right? Like, those things don't equip. We have to keep asking who will protect democracy while refusing to take a ship. Democracy needs election workers. Period. Point blank, period. Right? Point blank, period. So I'm going to the comments real quick. I see Christy says, states control elections, not the current administration, no matter who. It does not matter who. All of us play a role. Those roles are not the same. Absolutely. It's important to know that. David James Glass says, the 2024 elections were super secure, but Dems lost. I mean, I stay on message that Dems need to win with policy that is also attractive to Republican voters. Yeah, we're going to have conflicting views over, hold on, I think, did I freeze? Over what the right way is. Am I frozen on you guys? Just give me I'm looking at my Instagram screen and I'm seeing frozen. I hope not. Let me see. Am I frozen over here? Okay. What I will also say is that doers, this is the work, right? As I close out, this is the work. We educate ourselves so that fear cannot manipulate us. We advocate so that silence cannot be mistaken for consent. We celebrate the people and the protections that are already holding our systems together. And then, and only then, when the moment requires it, we legislate like the warning is real, rather than waiting for it to become a headline. I've already begun reaching out to my colleagues, guys. Now I need you to do your part. I genuinely need you to do your part. I need you to contact your legislators. I need you to check your own registration, right? Apply to become an officer of election and help somebody else understand that what is happening, understand what's happening without exaggerating, without the panic, and without sort of just looking away, right? Because people, at least I believe, I believe that the people who hope we will not notice are counting on our confusion, right? They're counting on it. And certified doers know what to do with the count. We check it. We check it every time. Go into the comment section here. All right. Christy said the administration functions like Orwell in 1984. It's opposite day every day. Secure elections means rig 'em. Peace means strength. They mean violence. Peace. Oh, okay. Peace. They mean violence and intimidation. Every accusation is a confession. Yeah. And to your points, Christy, they are still implementing the conservative, the mandate for peace. I mean, for the mandate for leadership, the conservative promise, aka Project 2025, right? Still going through it. Right? We've got work to do here. So much work to do. And I'm looking in the comments. Please let me know your thoughts. David Shames says, right now there's a push in Virginia Dem Party to roll back over burdensome housing and construction regulation. That's a great path that should be amplified. We need to get this info out better. Yeah. One person that I say you can follow in the General Assembly that is working a lot on this rollback that David James is talking about is Delegate Josh Thomas. I've seen him talking about doing a lot of good work there. We can talk about, the great things that were in the budget. We've done a lot of really amazing things here. And I need people to know that don't get fooled by the hype. We're doing good stuff. Let me see. I'm looking. Yeah, lost. Got it. Type it in the comments. Yeah, absolutely. I love this. As I said, Will says, tell them when you see that good work and you're like, I am not your constituent, but I want to thank you for that work. I mean, that helps people continue to do the right things, right? That to continue to do the right things and to know that that you appreciate it. It is not often that we get emails that are just like, thank you so much for the work you do. And most of the time it's like, fix this, fix that, which is super important, which is important to have those touch points where folks like you are saying, hey, this is what needs to happen. We need it. We appreciate it. Array Biz says, good points, Christy. States have got to push back. Yeah, man. Absolutely. She said, Delegate Glass. Absolutely, Delegate Glass. Honestly, with you involved is the only comfort I believe in the system. There are really good people doing great work. I mean, so much. They're doing great work. I love this. He says, I would love some DIY homeowner construction and repair legislation. Let me do some more work on my home. Yeah. This is why right to repair, it's not just homes for me. Right to repair is so important because we are going into a leasing economy and big business wants us to have to pay them to even to use, right? And to fix things we wouldn't ordinarily have to do. I love that. I mean, I love that the advocacy starts around. Thank you, Christy. We're trying over here. But it's when you guys show up that reminds me that hey, we're doing the right thing. People are absolutely hoping that we show up and that we continue to sound the alarm. I'll say this that let me just give you guys some good news. How about that? How about we leave today on some good news? Um, Virginia is not standing out in this rain with no coat on, right? We are already um, making, and I'll talk on gosh, I'll talk along the lines of election stuff too. Outside of elections, okay. So where am I at? 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 Okay. So what we've done already, right? We've done some meaningful elections protections and investments that we also can celebrate. Um, However, the honest question is whether they are enough for the particular federal pressure that we're now facing. That's the question. In our 2026-2028 budget, we funded the people and the systems that run elections. So we're providing the Department of Elections with about over 38 million in the fiscal 2027 and about 33 million in 2028. That includes 12 million each year to compensate for the support of local registrars and electoral boards and the people who are actually carrying out elections in our community. We are also, for your good knowledge, and all of this, if you go to, come on, what's the website? And give you budget line items and everything. If you go to budget.lis.virginia.gov, LIS stands for Legislative Information System. If you just go to lis.gov, I'm gonna put this in the chat, you can get to the state budget. It's an interesting read. You're not going to be able to read everything, but we are investing in our voter registration technology. So the budget we provided, I think about 15 million, over 15 million. Next year and the year after, about 11 million for statewide voter registration system and related technology. So we're trying to update that technology. It's also continues using that federal Help America Voter Act. That's that funding and state matching money to place the Virginia election and registration information known as, to replace VERIS. So when you hear them say VERIS, it's the Virginia Election and Registration and Administration Information System. So we're doing that. We're also replacing, it's 8 o'clock, it's telling me get going. We're also replacing that aging campaign finance technology, right? So the budget included about 3 million to begin replacing Virginia Committee electronic tracking and campaign finance management system. It's old, y'all. It's not like ballot security, but it's that transparency around who's funding politics is also a part of election security access, secure and access. This budget, we put money behind voting rights and list maintenance. So that the budget that we just approved includes funding to implement and strengthen the Virginia Voting Rights Act that we talked about earlier, and more than $400,000 over the biennium, over the 2 years for new voter list maintenance framework. So we're looking at how we do better. I'm just going to keep underscoring that I can take you this morning. Great. Underscoring that the Virginia Voting Rights Act is stronger in 2026. It prohibits voting rules or practices that suppress the vote of protected communities. It adds protections against vote dilution. It lowers that threshold for requiring translated election materials, so that translation, and directs courts to interpret election laws in favor of protecting eligible voters' ability to cast and have their ballots counted. We have a paper trail, y'all. Like, we're doing the work. Since July of 2020, localities, they cannot use direct records electronic machines. I've talked about this, right? That law prohibits that wireless communication between voting machines and outside equipment while polls are open, right? We've done so much, and I've said that. Protecting against threatening folks, said all these things. This is good news, you know. So Virginia is built a sturdy front door, right? If we're talking about housing, because I'll get back to David's comment. Like, we've built a sturdy front door, right? Paper trails, public audits, protections for voters, felony penalties. But when it comes to the federal, when the federal government starts, shaking a knob, right, threatening to kick the door in, we got to make sure we also have a deadbolt. So, right, we are not starting from zero. Virginia has done some good work. The bones are fan-freaking-tastic. But I don't want to ignore the leaky roof as we talk about housing right now, because I hear the water. I don't know if you hear the rain. And I'll talk about some of the other ones. Let me go to your comments. Thank you for putting this in here at the budget. If you want to look at the budget, some of the things we put in there. David says, good news, tons of it in Virginia. New road to the Federal Housing Act, to the Housing Act at the federal level, coupled with Virginia recently manufactured home or ADUs. Regulation rollback is great stuff for affordable housing. Heck yeah, we're doing that. Virginia's doing that. I know y'all read the headlines and you're not holding on to it. Like, we are doing that. We are doing that good work. Not only are we doing that good work with housing, as David said, like, we have invested in our children in our public schools. That budget includes 2 million. I know, baby. 2 billion with a B, in public education funding, 4% raises for our teachers and our schools and support staff, 577 million for child care and early childhood education, and nearly 350 million for higher education, including money to hold tuition down, to expand financial aid and support Virginia's historically Black colleges and universities, right? We have these things for a reason. These things have created. We also created, hear me out on this, right? Virginia also created the Employee Child Care Assistant Program. It allows public dollars to match employer contribution towards employees' child care costs, with an emphasis on encouraging small businesses to participate, right? I think that was Adele. I don't want to miss Adele McClure, I think, brought that one forth. We are also protecting healthcare while Washington is cutting it. Our budget included $150 million in Affordable Care Act premium assistance, $350 million in Medicaid Reserve Fund, and $225 million federal contingency fund to help Virginia preserve healthcare and these other assistance services while the federal government keeps making that funding disappear, right? Good shit. I mean, good stuff, y'all. Virginia has capped, what did they do? What did we do? We also sort of capped insured patients out of pocket for insulin, and we covered diabetes equipment and the covered diabetes associated equipment and supplies. We capped that to $35 per 30-day supply, right? We made the work a little bit more humane, right? We are trying to make government humane. We created the statewide paid family medical leave. Shout out to Delegate Sewell who did that. So once fully implemented, eligible workers are going to be able to receive up to 12 weeks of paid leave, generally replacing 80% of their average wage. That's set to begin December of 2028. We expanded paid sick leave protections, y'all. So workers that are accruing at least 1 hour every 30 hours their work, generally up to 40 hours annually, a week annually, so a work week. There's additional notice and record keeping and enforcement that will take effect July next year. Minimum wage is expected to go up, right? For $13.75 in 2027, $15 in 2028, followed by some annual inflation adjustments. Here's the deal. The federal minimum wage is still $7.25 freaking cents, right? Federal is. Employees, what we're hoping will have to include employers will have to include good faith salary ranges when they doing these job postings, and are prohibited now from using your salary history to determine how much you get to earn next. Right? That's what we're doing. To David's point, right? To David's point, we put serious money into housing stability. We deposited 127 million, and it's not enough, but it's a big chunk. 127 thereabouts million this year, and then next fiscal year, 2028 fiscal year, 87 million in the Virginia Housing Trust. It supports that rapid rehousing, homelessness prevention, eviction diversion programs, including some dedicated attention to veterans that are experiencing homelessness. This is in the budget. And on July 1st next year, every Virginia locality, not just a selected handful, y'all, listen to this. Every Virginia locality will have the authority, as David just said, to establish an affordable dwelling unit program through their zoning ordinance, ADUs. We are giving these participating localities your backyard. This is why knowing the powers of your local government matters. Knowing that the state gives those powers matters even more. We will be giving every participating locality will have tools to protect publicly supported affordable housing, including advance notice before affordability restrictions expire, and the opportunity for that locality to require the locality or their designated qualified designee to purchase and preserve the property. Right? We're making big business contribute more, right? This is where we've been seeing the fights in the news, but y'all don't get too caught up in those fights, because our budget that we just passed established the first of its kind energy consumption tax for data centers, right? Protected, protected it's protected. I'm not saying protected. We're supposed to, what's the word I'm looking for? Projected to generate, I love this, right? Projected to generate approximately $600 million annually. That also includes a $25 million for energy efficiency and weatherization programs. And RGGI, our regional gas house emission initiative credits, that are intended to help residential and small business utility customers. My phone bill, my electric bill is almost $500 this month, right? So it's worth saying plainly, if industry is going to consume extraordinary amounts of our energy and our infrastructure, it should make extraordinary contributions to the Commonwealth carrying that load. Okay? Y'all need to have this on your tongue, right? We are protecting personal freedoms. We enacted that statutory um, um, right to obtain contraception, birth control pills, you know, you implant all kinds of stuff. We're making the government easier to use. The Department of Taxation, which you don't hear us talk about much, we authorized the Department of Taxation to establish a free individual tax filing program, right? Right? Accessory, AKA, yeah, I'll get to that. Um, Mother-in-law suites, yeah, I love that. ADUs, accessory dwelling units. Um, you can build a little house for your mom by you. Yep. Love that, right? That's the type of stuff we're doing. That right there. That right there. I just need to like say it with my chest, right? Like, because the federal government is like, we're getting rid of the free tax filing, we authorize our taxation system, our Department of Taxation, to do a free individualized tax filing program. It funds the budget has funding for a Virginia digital service team that is intended to help agencies fix outdated systems and make public services and make these public services easier for you, the people, to access. So when you get out there and you hear people talking about where Virginia still needs to move, we have to also tell the truth about where we did move. We put historic money into public schools. We gave teachers and school support staff and raises. We invested in childcare, financial aid, HBCUs, housing, healthcare. We're keeping people in their homes, capping the price of insulin, created paid family medical leave, expanded, you hear me? Expanded paid sick leave. We put Virginia on the road to a $15 minimum wage. We are protecting contraception. We are holding data centers are possible. Holding data centers. Oh God, sorry. Responsible. We told them that if you're gonna pull heavily from Virginia grid, they're gonna have to carry some of that load. Is it perfect? No, but we also don't want to prevent businesses from coming here. That doesn't mean that the work we had to hold in hands both because we don't want people to not come here. That doesn't mean that our work is finished right now. That means it's working, and that we are not, what's the word? We are not protecting democracy merely so that people can cast a ballot. That's not the only thing that we're doing. We are protecting democracy so that the ballot can produce schools, healthcare, housing, dignity, and a government that actually works for the people. So that is why elections matter, right? That is why this is so important, why I need you guys to get in it, to be in it, and to do the work, right? Yep. I love this, that you're resourcing. Tell low-income residents to look at the PIPP program for lower bills. I will do that. And thank you for flagging that. And thank you for flagging that. I should have gone 15 minutes ago, but I had to do bragging. It took me 15 minutes to do that, right? So David Jane says, any talk among legislators about a tax penalty holiday or something, bringing people back to paying taxes and participation by offering forgiveness. That would be popular right now. Hey, send me information more on that, because I know we do the tax holiday for school supplies and hurricane supplies. So like, if you've got an idea, as a matter of fact, my guy, what you can do on August 8th, we have summer school for certified doers. You can go to my link tree where you can find and see all of the information. It is on Eventbrite. It is on Eventbrite, where you can be a part of the policy pitch contest that's happening on August 8th. This event is at ODU. Policy pitch contest. Pitch your policy idea. The pitch contest is around 1:30. So come with your best ideas and pitch them, and come to summer school and learn how this process works. We want to do that. We want to educate, advocate, celebrate, then legislate in that order. All right. So I'm hoping to see you guys. Appreciate you all being here. We went overtime a bit, but so did the World Cup. The World Cup went OT. And we bigger than that. All right, y'all. Be kind to yourself. Drink water, you're a flower. I'm Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and the Laced Up legislator for the House of Delegates, 93rd District. Honored to serve. Do great, be great. Certified doers, keep doing. Being a certified doer, because doers get more done. Yes. Yeah, pinch contests and learning opportunities. Come through. Invite your friends. There's no age limit. Bring all your people. All right. Talk to y'all later. Take care. In the stream.